The first mistake people made about Rachel Quinn was thinking she had come back because she had fallen. That was the easy version. Former founder loses her place. Former girlfriend loses the man. Former employee returns in a cleaner's uniform, wiping fingerprints from the glass walls of the company that erased her. It was neat. It was cruel. And it was exactly the story Derek Miles needed everyone to believe. By 10 o'clock that night, half the Clearvault office had already seen her. A few recognized her and looked away. Most did not know her at all. To them, she was just a quiet woman with a gray badge, moving through the celebration party while Derek prepared to sell the company. Rachel let them misunderstand. She had learned that people revealed more when they believed you had no power. Derek had once told Rachel she was too careful to lead, too emotional to scale, too attached to small clients. Then, when a data leak threatened the company, he let the blame land on her because she was the only person who cared enough to stay silent. But tonight was not about the old accusation. Tonight was about a new crime. At 11:45 p.m., Clearvault's sale would be finalized with a consent page bearing Rachel's signature. A signature she never gave. So, when Derek smiled across the room and asked someone to please make sure the cleaner doesn't touch the legal table, Rachel lowered her eyes. Not because she was ashamed, because she had just seen the folder. And the corner of the page inside it had her name on it. The badge around Rachel's neck still felt cold from the security desk. Temp night cleaning. 6 months earlier, her old badge had said something else. Rachel Quinn, founding security architect. In Clearvault's first year, Rachel had slept under a conference table while servers screamed alerts at 3 in the morning. She had written the first encryption workflow on a borrowed laptop with a cracked hinge. Derek had been there too. He was not useless. He could walk into a room of investors and make a failing month sound like the beginning of a movement. At first, Rachel loved that about him. Then confidence became ownership. Ownership became correction. Correction became control. By the time Clearvault won its first major contract, Derek was answering questions meant for Rachel. By the time they moved into the glass office downtown, he was introducing her as our technical backbone, with a smile that made the phrase sound like both compliment and warning. Rachel noticed. She just did not fight it fast enough. That was the truth she hated most. The night of the leak, she did fight. She told Derek the investor demo was not ready. The temporary access layer still had a hole in it. Rachel had written the patch. She had sent the warning. She had stood in Derek's office at 7:18 p.m. and said, "Do not run the demo tonight." Derek looked at the investor schedule on his wall and said, "You see risk because you're scared of growth." 2 hours later, the demo ran. By morning, a clinic's test records had appeared where they should not have been. Someone had to take responsibility before the board panicked. Derek chose Rachel. He did it carefully. He asked who had written the temporary access layer, who had pushed the last patch, who had warned everyone about the vulnerability. The answers circled Rachel because she had been trying to fix the problem before Derek used it. When the board asked whether she had touched the affected system, she said yes. Derek did not have to lie after that. He only had to let her answer stand alone. Rachel signed her separation agreement 3 days later. Mara Ellis, the young legal lead, slid the documents across the table with eyes that never softened. Derek stood by the window and said this was the only way to protect Clearvault. Rachel removed her old badge and placed it in the clear plastic return box at reception. That small sound stayed with her for months. Then, 3 days ago, a former vendor named Paul called from a blocked number. "I shouldn't be telling you this," he said. Paul told her Clearvault was being sold. The buyer wanted the core security engine, the original architecture, the thing Rachel had designed before the company had furniture. "They need your consent," Paul said. At least, they did. Rachel did not ask what that meant. She already knew. Every lawyer she called gave her the same wall, without access, documents, or proof. She would look like a bitter former employee trying to sabotage a sale. So Rachel found another way in. The cleaning agency did not ask why she wanted the Clearvault night shift. They needed someone with no problem wearing gray. At 8:41 p.m., Owen Reed, the night security guard, handed Rachel her temporary badge through the lobby window. He looked at her face, then at the assignment sheet. "First night?" he asked. "Back in this building," Rachel said. "First night with a mop." Something moved behind Owen's eyes, but he did not ask the question. He only buzzed her through. The lobby smelled different now. Cedar, cold air, champagne, new paint. The old wall where they had taped customer support notes was gone, replaced by a digital founder timeline. Derek Miles appeared in the first photograph alone. Rachel stopped long enough to read the caption. Derek Miles launches Clearvault with a mission to protect the overlooked. The overlooked. Rachel almost smiled. Then an employee in a silver dress stepped around her bucket and said, "Careful. This area needs to stay clean for photos." Rachel lowered her head and pushed the bucket forward. The glass conference room was lit at the end of the hall. Inside, Mara stood with 3 attorneys, arranging blue folders in a neat row. On the wall clock above reception, the minute hand moved toward 10:15. 90 minutes until signing. Rachel adjusted the mop handle and moved closer, slow enough to look harmless. Through the glass, she saw Derek enter. He leaned over Mara's chair, said something that made Mara point to a page, then tapped that page twice and closed the folder with his palm. When he walked out, he carried the blue folder into the party area as if legal consent were just another prop in his celebration. Then he saw Rachel. For 1 second, his face did not know what to do with her. The shock disappeared quickly. Derek had always been good at turning surprise into performance. He smiled. "Rachel," he said, loud enough for nearby employees to turn. "I didn't realize the agency sent someone we knew." A few people looked at her badge. One of them whispered, "Wait, that's her?" Rachel kept both hands on the mop handle. Derek stepped closer. "I hope you're not here to make tonight difficult." "No," Rachel said. "I'm here to clean." His smile reached his mouth, but not his eyes. "Good," he said. "Then stay away from the legal table." He moved past her, brushing her shoulder with the sleeve of his jacket as he returned to the crowd. Rachel waited until he was gone before she looked at the folder in his hand. The top page had shifted. But it was enough. Rachel saw her printed name. Rachel Quinn. Under it, in dark ink, was the beginning of a signature shaped like a life she no longer had. The old loop on the Q. The sharp drop at the end. The version of her hand from before the accident, before the wrist brace, before 6 months of learning to sign slowly because pain had changed the angle of every letter. Rachel picked up the mop and turned toward the spill beside the champagne table. She was not surrendering. Now she knew the lie had a shape. Rachel did not look at the folder again right away. That was the first rule of being invisible. Never let powerful people see what had caught your attention. She lowered the mop into the bucket and worked in slow circles around the champagne spill. Around her, Clearvault employees laughed near the dessert table, posed beneath the lobby screen, and congratulated Derek before he had signed anything. That was how he liked it. Make the ending feel inevitable, then make objection feel impolite. The glass conference room sat beyond the party area, bright and sealed like an aquarium. Inside, Mara Ellis arranged folders by color, blue for corporate consent, black for buyer terms, white for disclosure schedules. Rachel knew the system because she had helped build its first rough version when Clearvault could not afford outside counsel. Now everything was cleaner. Too clean. Rachel pushed the bucket closer to the glass wall, pretending to chase a sticky trail of champagne. The wet path gave her a reason to move slowly. Inside, Mara checked her tablet and spoke to a woman Rachel did not recognize. The woman wore a cream blazer and a thin silver watch. She had the calm posture of someone who represented money rather than made it. Nicole Hart, Rachel guessed. Buyer side lead. Nicole tapped the blue folder. And there is no open founder consent issue? Mara did not hesitate. No, we have executed consent from all required parties. Rachel's hand tightened around the mop handle. Nicole turned one page. Including Rachel Quinn? Mara glanced toward the party through the glass. Her eyes passed over Rachel without stopping. Including Rachel Quinn, Mara said. The words landed like a checklist. That made them worse. Nicole nodded. Good. My board does not want a post-close dispute with a former founder. Neither does Derek, Mara said. No, Nicole replied. Derek wants speed. Mara's mouth flattened. Derek wants this completed tonight. Rachel moved the mop again. There it was. Not just a sale. A rushed sale. Nicole opened the black folder next. The migration language still bothers me. Mara looked down. The buyer will maintain service continuity for existing clients. For 30 days, Nicole said. After that, we consolidate to our standard infrastructure. Rachel stopped moving for half a breath. Standard infrastructure. That meant the private clinics, counseling groups, and small care networks using ClearVault would be pushed into a cheaper system built for scale, not protection. They would receive notice, options, support tickets, and no real choice. Rachel had built ClearVault for clients who did not have security teams. Derek knew that. The contract allows consolidation after notice, Mara said. Legal notice, Nicole replied. Not emotional permission. Rachel guided the mop away before anyone could see she had stopped cleaning. Across the lobby, Tessa Grant held up a phone, recording Derek near the screen. Rachel recognized her from ClearVault's marketing posts. Bright captions, clean graphics, too much faith in the person giving her access. Derek lifted his glass. ClearVault was never just software, he said. It was a promise. We protect the overlooked. Rachel kept walking. She had written that line in a customer memo at 2:13 a.m. during their first winter, after a rural clinic nearly canceled because it could not afford the upgraded plan. Rachel had argued they should protect the smallest clients first because larger clients already had options. Derek had called it bad business then. Now he was selling it as vision. The anger rose clean and sharp, but Rachel kept it useful. Anger that showed too early only gave Derek a story to tell. She turned toward the service hallway, where cleaning carts lined the wall beside a locked supply room. Owen sat at the security desk 20 feet away, watching 3 monitors and pretending not to watch her. Rachel paused beside the cart and lifted a stack of trash liners. Behind her, Derek's voice softened into the tone he used when he wanted people to feel grateful for being managed. Tonight is about trust, he said. The buyer trusts us. Our board trusts us. Our team trusts that every loose end has been resolved. Rachel looked through the narrow gap between the hallway and the glass room. Mara had returned to the blue folder. She removed one page, checked a sticky tab, and placed it on top of the stack. Rachel could not read the whole document from that distance. But she could read the heading, Founder Transfer Consent. Below it, in smaller type, was the line that explained why Derek looked so calm. Consent verified by executive certification. Not notarized. Not witnessed. Certified by Derek. Rachel understood why the signature had looked old. It did not need to survive real scrutiny. It only needed to survive until 11:45. A catering worker passed the hallway carrying empty glasses. You're needed in conference after legal clears out, he told Rachel. They spilled coffee near the table. Rachel nodded once. The glass room was no longer behind a wall. It was becoming her next assignment. The coffee spill in the conference room was smaller than the catering worker had claimed. Rachel noticed that first. A dark crescent near the legal table, 2 drops on the chair closest to the screen. Nothing that required a full cleaning call unless someone wanted the room checked without admitting they were checking it. She entered with her bucket, her mop, and the kind of posture people stopped seeing after 3 seconds. Mara was still inside, sealing the blue folder with a paper band. Careful around the table, Mara said without looking up. Nothing on it is trash. I understand, Rachel said. Mara's hand paused. Not because of the words. Because of the voice. She looked up then, and recognition moved across her face in a controlled, professional way. No surprise wide enough to be useful. No guilt soft enough to trust. Rachel Quinn, Mara said. Rachel wrung out the mop. Mara. You should not be in this room. I was assigned to clean it. You know what I mean. Rachel moved to the coffee spill. Then say what you mean. Mara's jaw tightened. Through the glass, Derek was laughing with Nicole and two senior employees near the dessert table. Tessa stood a few steps away, still recording pieces of the night for social media. Mara lowered her voice. If you came here to challenge the sale, this is not the way. Rachel looked at the blue folder, then back at the floor. I haven't challenged anything. Good, Mara said. Because the documents are complete. Rachel cleaned the coffee in one slow pass. Complete, she repeated. Mara picked up the folder. Do not make me call security. Rachel glanced toward Owen's desk beyond the lobby. He was watching one monitor too closely. You won't have to, Rachel said. Mara left with the folder held against her ribs. Rachel stayed behind long enough to see what Mara had covered with her tablet, a small stack of duplicate signature packets, clipped but not banded. Not the original file. Copies for review. Copies people left behind when they believed the originals were already safe. Before Rachel could move closer, Derek appeared at the glass door. Rachel. He said her name like a host, finding a stain on expensive linen. The party noise thinned around the doorway as people noticed him notice her. Derek stepped inside, then turned slightly so his voice could carry back into the lobby. I thought I asked you to stay away from the legal table. Rachel kept the mop upright between them. There was a spill. There usually is, he said. Around you. A few people near the champagne station laughed before deciding whether it was safe. Tessa's phone was still raised. Rachel saw the red recording dot. That mattered. Derek walked farther into the room. I have to admit, this is almost poetic. Clearvault reaches the biggest night in its history, and you come back to clean up after it. Rachel looked at him once, then lowered her eyes to the bucket. The floor needed it. That was always your problem, Derek said. You focused on the floor. I focused on where the company was going. He wanted anger. If she gave him anger, he could turn her into the warning label he had spent 6 months printing. So, Rachel gave him work. She pushed the mop past his shoes. Derek moved back, but only half a step. His face stayed open for the crowd. Everyone, he said, turning toward the lobby. For those who don't know, Rachel used to be part of Clearvault. Used to be. The phrase did what he wanted. It placed her behind the company like an old mistake. A young engineer Rachel did not recognize leaned toward another employee. Was she on the leak team? Derek heard it and let the question hang. Then he sighed with perfect reluctance. Rachel was very talented, but talent without judgment can cost people trust. Mara, now near the legal table outside the room, looked down at the folder. Nicole watched without expression. Owen's hand moved on the security desk, not to a phone, not to an alarm. To the mouse beside the camera controls. Rachel noticed. Derek kept going. I do not enjoy seeing anyone struggle after leaving this company. That was a lie shaped like mercy. But I do hope tonight proves something, he said. Clearvault survived because we chose discipline over emotion. Tessa lowered her phone slightly. Rachel could see the uncertainty starting. Not belief. Not yet. Just the discomfort of a person recording something that no longer felt like content. Derek stepped close enough that only Rachel could hear his next sentence clearly. You should leave before you embarrass yourself more. Rachel looked past him at the duplicate packets on the table. Then at Tessa's phone. Then at Owen's monitors. Derek thought the room was watching her fall. Rachel understood the room was finally creating witnesses. She lifted the bucket handle. "I'll finish the assigned area," she said, calm enough for the words to carry. "Then I'll leave it cleaner than I found it." That earned another small laugh, but it did not land the way Derek wanted. Nicole checked her watch. Mara opened the blue folder again. Tessa stopped recording, but did not delete the video. And Owen, behind the security desk, clicked once on the camera feed for the conference room. Rachel heard the sound. Tiny. Almost nothing. But it was the first useful sound anyone had made all night. Rachel waited until Derek left the conference doorway before she moved toward the duplicate packets. She did not rush. Rushing belonged to people who were allowed to be obvious. The party had pulled most eyes back to the lobby. Derek was speaking with Nicole again, his public face restored. Mara stood near the legal table outside the glass, checking her tablet with the blue folder tucked under one arm. Rachel had less than a minute. The duplicate packets sat beside the screen, clipped in 2 stacks. Review copies, not originals. No one protected copies with the same fear. That was why copies often told the truth first. Rachel set her bucket down beside the chair with the coffee drops. She bent as if wiping the base of the table, then slid one packet just far enough to see the top page. Founder transfer consent. Her name sat halfway down the page. Rachel Quinn. Below it was a signature. For a moment, the office noise moved farther away, not gone, just distant enough for her to hear her own breathing. The signature was hers. And it was not hers. The old loop of the Q curved too confidently. The final stroke dropped hard and clean, the way it had before her right wrist had been broken in the bicycle accident outside the old office building. Before the brace, before therapy, before every signature became smaller, slower, less dramatic because pain had taught her hand to conserve motion. Whoever had copied it had done their homework. But not recent homework. Rachel took out her phone under the table, angling her body between the camera in the corner and the packet. The screen lit across a spiderweb crack from the day her phone had slipped out of her hand during therapy. She had never replaced it. Money had been one reason. Stubbornness had been another. The camera struggled to focus. Rachel steadied her left hand over her right, took one photo, then another. A shadow crossed the glass. She lowered the phone against her thigh. Mara had turned. Rachel moved the mop under the table and dragged it back with a soft scrape. Mara opened the door. "Are you finished?" "Almost. You are spending a long time on a small spill." Rachel looked at the floor. "Coffee spreads." Mara's eyes went to the table, then to Rachel's hand. For one dangerous second, Rachel thought Mara had seen the packet shift. Then, Derek's voice cut across from the lobby. "Mara, Nicole wants the updated disclosure schedule." Mara did not answer immediately. She studied Rachel as if trying to match the woman in the gray uniform to a file she had read too many times. "You should know," Mara said quietly, "if you remove anything from this room, it becomes theft." Rachel let that sit between them. "If something in this room has my name on it," Rachel said, "what does it become then?" Mara's expression tightened, but before she could reply, Derek called her again. This time sharper. Mara stepped back from the doorway. "Finish cleaning. Then leave the conference area." Rachel nodded. The door closed. She waited until Mara crossed the lobby before she looked again. The packet still sat slightly out of line, the top page exposed enough to show the certification block. Executive certification, Derek Miles. Not witness certification. Not independent verification. Derek had not just presented her consent. He had personally certified it. Rachel turned the page with the edge of a folded napkin. The second page carried a scanned copy of an old consent form from 2 years earlier, from a harmless internal restructuring when ClearVault moved from a partnership agreement to a corporation. Rachel remembered signing that one at the old folding table, Derek joking that someday they would have real lawyers and real chairs. The scanned signature matched the one on the sale page almost perfectly. Not similar, copied. Her throat tightened, not from shock, but from the intimacy of it. Derek had not forged her from memory. He had gone into the company archive, found a version of her trust, and cut it loose from the moment where she had given it. That felt worse than a fake. A fake admitted it was pretending. This was theft, wearing an old promise. Rachel photographed the second page, then slid everything back into line. As she lifted the bucket, her phone buzzed once in her palm. The cracked screen showed a message from an unknown number. Stop looking at documents that no longer concern you. No signature. No name. Rachel looked through the glass. Derek was smiling at Nicole. Mara was beside him. Tessa was behind them, lowering her phone as if she had caught more than she meant to. Owen sat at the security desk, his eyes fixed on a monitor Rachel could not see. The message could have come from Derek. It could have come from someone using Mara's access. Either way, someone knew. Rachel deleted nothing. She locked the phone, slipped it into her uniform pocket, and rolled the bucket toward the service hallway. Behind her, the sale documents looked untouched. Inside her pocket, the lie had finally become evidence. Rachel did not go straight to Owen. That would have been too easy to notice. She rolled the cleaning cart past the service hallway, collected 2 empty trays, and tied off a trash bag with hands that looked busier than they were. Her phone sat heavy in her pocket with the photographs inside it and the warning message still fresh. Stop looking at documents that no longer concern you. Rachel had not replied. People who sent threats wanted proof that the threat had landed. She gave them none. At 10:52 p.m., Derek's celebration had shifted into the polished laziness that came after champagne. Employees spoke louder. Investors checked emails. Nicole Hart had moved into a quieter corner with Mara, and Derek stood between them like a man making sure 2 doors stayed closed. Rachel parked the cart near the security desk. Owen Reed did not look up immediately. On his monitors, the lobby divided into silent squares: reception, elevator, bank, hallway, conference room, service corridor. Rachel saw herself in one of them, a gray figure beside a cart. "You need something?" Owen asked. "Trash bags." He handed her a roll without taking his eyes off the screens. Rachel took it. "Camera quality looks better than it used to." That made him look at her. "Used to? I helped approve the first camera layout. We only had money for 4 working units. Derek wanted the lobby camera because investors saw the lobby. I wanted the legal hallway covered." Owen's expression shifted. "That was you? The hallway coverage? They almost cut that camera last year. Someone argued to keep it because contract rooms attract convenient memories." Rachel remembered the sentence. She had written it in a facilities memo no one had answered. Owen lowered his voice. "You really are Rachel Quinn. Tonight, I'm night cleaning." "Then you should clean," he said, but there was less warning in it than before. Rachel placed the trash bags on the cart. "Someone sent me a message after I looked at a review copy." Owen's shoulders tightened. "I need to know who could see me in that room," Rachel said. "That is not a small ask." "I know. If I pull footage for you, I lose my job. If you do nothing, someone may use your cameras to make a crime look clean." Owen looked at the monitors again. The conference room feed showed Mara entering with the blue folder. Owen clicked once, bringing up the archive panel. "I can't give you footage." "I didn't ask you to give me footage." He exhaled, then typed a command. "Archive access is restricted to security, lead, legal admin, and executive admin." "Derek?" "Executive admin includes Derek." "And Mara?" "Legal admin includes Mara's workstation." Rachel watched his fingers pause. "What?" Owen opened a second window with access logs, not video, names, times, terminals. Then his face closed. Rachel felt the answer before she saw it. "There is a gap," he said. "How long?" 7 minutes. "When?" 9:38 to 9:45. Rachel thought back. Before the party reached full volume. Before Derek carried the folder. Before Mara told Nicole every consent was complete. What happened at 9:38? Owen opened another log. Conference room archive request. Then deletion. By who? He swallowed. Mara Ellis. Rachel looked toward Mara, who was speaking to Nicole with the exhaustion of someone trying to keep a deal upright. That doesn't fit, Rachel said. People say that right before something fits. No. Mara believes the documents are clean. Or she wants you to think that. Rachel shook her head once. Not in defense of Mara. In defense of logic. Show me the terminal. Owen hesitated. Owen, you are asking me to cross a line. Someone already crossed it using your system. That reached him. He turned the monitor. The access log showed Mara's credentials, but the terminal ID was not her laptop. It was Legal 03. Rachel stared at it. Where is Legal 03? Owen opened the floor map. The highlighted device sat in the small copy room behind Legal. Not Mara's office. A place with no reason to be used during a celebration unless someone wanted access without being seen. Owen whispered, that room camera was part of the 7-minute gap. Rachel's pulse changed. Derek had not only certified the consent. Someone had used Mara's access from a side terminal, erased the window when the document could have been inserted, and left Mara's name as the cleanest explanation if anything broke. From the lobby, Derek laughed at something Nicole said. Mara did not laugh with him. Rachel looked back at the screen. Can you recover the gap? No, not from the main system. From anywhere else? Owen was quiet too long. Finally, he said, the old elevator camera still backs up locally because nobody remembered to retire it. Can it see the copy room door? Part of it. Can you check? He looked at her badge, then at her face. When the leak happened, he said, I was on the layoff list. A week later, my badge still worked. HR said a founder pushed back on cutting night security. Rachel said nothing. Owen clicked into a separate folder. I never knew which founder, he said. On the screen, the old elevator archive began to load. In the lobby, the clock changed to 10:59. 46 minutes left. The elevator archive loaded in pieces. First the timestamp. Then the grainy hallway. Then the reflection of the copy room door in the metal elevator frame. Owen leaned closer to the monitor. This system is old. It drops frames. At 9:40 p.m., someone entered the copy room with a blue folder under one arm. The angle did not show the face. It showed the sleeve. Dark jacket, white cuff, silver watch. Then the person turned slightly to pull the door shut. Rachel saw the hand. Derek's hand. She had known that hand once. Known the small scar near his thumb from the night they built desks with a borrowed drill. Known the watch he bought after their first investor check because he said a founder needed to look like time belonged to him. Owen did not speak. Rachel took one photo of the monitor. Don't, Owen said. I need the timestamp. You need a lawyer. I need both. Behind them, a voice cut in. You need to step away from that desk. Mara stood at the edge of the security station with the blue folder against her chest. Owen closed the archive window too late. Mara's eyes went from the monitor to Rachel. What are you doing? Looking for the person who used your credentials. Mara's face changed in the smallest way. My credentials? Legal 03. 9:38 to 9:45. Conference room archive deleted. Owen looked down. Mara's grip tightened. That is not possible. Then you should want to know why it happened. Mara stepped closer. You have no authority here. No, Rachel said. I only have my name on a document I never signed. The sentence struck harder than Rachel expected. Mara looked at the folder as if it had grown heavier. You saw the consent page, Mara said. I saw an old signature pasted into a new sale. That is an accusation. It is a fact with a timestamp behind it. Mara's professional calm began to thin. You caused a breach that almost killed this company. You do not get to walk back in wearing a cleaning badge and lecture me about facts. There it was. The old wound, brought out like evidence. Rachel almost answered with anger. Instead, she opened her cracked phone and showed the consent page, then the older form beneath it. "Look at the Q," Rachel said. Mara did not move. "Look at it." Mara looked. Rachel swiped to her current signature on the cleaning agency contract, signed earlier that evening. The letters were smaller. The final stroke tilted differently. The wrist injury had changed more than pain. It had changed proof. Mara looked once, then again. "That does not prove Derek forged it," she said, but her voice had lost its clean edge. "No. It proves someone used an old archive signature. Now, ask yourself who had access, motive, and enough authority to certify it without a witness," Owen said quietly. "And who was in the copy room during the deleted window?" Mara looked at him. "You recovered footage?" "Only from the elevator backup." Mara closed her eyes for 1 second. When she opened them, she was not softer, she was more awake. Then Mara said the thing Rachel did not expect. "The leak file is sealed." Rachel stared at her. "Why would you bring up the leak file?" "Because Derek told me if you appeared tonight, you would attack the consent first, then try to rewrite the breach." Rachel's stomach tightened. Derek had prepared Mara for this conversation. Not by telling her the truth. By predicting Rachel's defense before Rachel gave it. Mara opened the blue folder and pulled a thin internal memo from the back pocket. "Your termination record says the temporary access layer was pushed under your administrator key." "It was." "Then why should I believe anything else?" "Because I warned him not to run the demo." Mara gave a bitter little breath. "Everyone says that after a breach." Rachel turned to Owen. "Can you search internal mail archives?" Owen looked alarmed. "Not without legal authorization." Rachel looked back at Mara. "Then authorize it." Mara almost laughed. "You are asking me to help you challenge the company minutes before closing. I am asking you to find an email I sent at 7:04 p.m., the night of the demo. Subject line, temporary access patch do not deploy." Mara went still. Rachel continued. "It had the patch attached. It went to Derek, engineering, and legal. If your file is sealed, maybe you never saw it. But the archive did." Owen whispered, 38 minutes. The time hit all three of them differently. Mara walked behind the desk, took Owen's keyboard, and opened the legal archive with her own credentials. She searched the subject line. Nothing appeared. Rachel's hope dipped. Then Mara changed the filter from active mail to deleted retained mail. One result appeared. Temporary access patch do not deploy. Sent by Rachel Quinn, 24 p.m. Mara opened it. The attachment name loaded below the warning. Patch, RQ-17B. Mara read the first lines, and the color left her face. The email said the vulnerability could expose test records if the investor demo ran before the patch was applied. Below Rachel's warning was Derek's reply, sent 11 minutes later. "We move tonight. Risk acceptable." Mara stepped back from the desk. Owen stared at the screen. For 6 months, Derek had let the company believe Rachel's mistake caused the leak. But the proof had been sitting in a deleted archive all along. Not gone. Buried. Mara reached for the folder again, but this time she did not hold it like a shield. She held it like evidence. Derek found them because Mara forgot to close the blue folder. Not because she was careless. Because the email on Owen's monitor had changed the weight of the room, and for a few seconds, every rule Mara had built her career around stopped feeling stable. Risk acceptable. 2 words sat beneath Rachel's, warning like a blade left on a desk. Owen reached for the keyboard, but Mara stopped him. "Do not close it." Then Derek's reflection appeared in the dark part of the monitor. "What is this?" His voice was not loud. That made Owen stand straighter. Derek stepped behind the security desk as if he owned the air around it. Nicole was not with him. Tessa was nearby, pretending to adjust the lobby display while listening too hard. Mara turned. "We need to pause the signing." Derek blinked once. Excuse me? There is a question about founder consent. There is no question. There is now. Derek looked from Mara to Rachel, then to Owen. The calculation happened quickly. Rachel could see it move through his face and disappear behind disappointment. That was always Derek's favorite weapon. He made people feel like their objection had hurt him personally. Mara, he said, tell me you did not allow a former employee in a cleaning uniform to access privileged records. Owen said, she didn't access the archive. Stop talking, Derek said. Owen stopped. Rachel did not. The consent page uses an old signature, she said, copied from a prior restructuring form. Derek turned to her. You took photographs of legal documents. It was not a question. Rachel felt her phone in her pocket. Mara's eyes moved there too. Derek smiled faintly. Thank you for making this simpler. You certified a signature I did not give. I certified a completed file. You knew it was not completed. Derek stepped closer. Rachel, this is why the board lost confidence in you. You see, conspiracy wherever you see progress. Mara lifted the printed patch email. She warned you about the temporary access vulnerability before the demo. Derek's face hardened for half a second. Then he laughed softly. You are basing a legal delay on a 6-month-old technical argument? Your reply says risk acceptable, Mara said. Yes, Derek said. Because founders make risk calls, that is leadership. Rachel looked at him. You let me take the blame. You touched the system. I tried to fix it. You failed to control the outcome. The sentence landed with the clean cruelty of something rehearsed many times. Mara stared at him. Derek. He turned on her so quickly that she took a step back. No, he said. Do not start performing shock now. Your office cleared the packet. Your credentials accessed the archive. Your certification checklist is on the deal file. If there is a process issue, legal owns it. Mara's face went pale, but her voice held. My workstation was not used. Your credentials were. You know the difference. I know what the audit trail will show. That was the moment Mara understood enough. Derek had built exits for himself and traps for everyone else. Owen's hand moved under the desk. Derek saw it. Step away from the controls. Owen froze. Derek took out his phone and began typing. I am notifying security leadership and the board that Rachel Quinn entered a restricted area, photographed privileged documents, and attempted to interfere with a pending transaction. Rachel looked at Mara. He wrote that before he came over. Derek paused. Mara looked at his screen. The email body was already there. Not being typed. Edited. Rachel's name, Owen's name. Mara's title. Unauthorized legal access. Emotionally motivated disruption. Mara reached for his phone. Derek pulled it back. Careful. You drafted this before you knew what happened, she said. I prepared for a known risk. No, Rachel said. You prepared a story. Derek's smile disappeared. For one raw second, he showed them the man underneath the polish. You think truth matters by itself? He said, truth needs distribution. Truth needs timing. Truth needs people in the room who can afford to believe it. He looked at Rachel's gray badge. And you cannot. The words were meant to break something. They did not. They clarified him. Nicole appeared at the edge of the hallway. Is there a problem? Derek turned instantly, smooth again. A small internal issue. We are handling it. Mara closed the blue folder. No, she said, we are pausing. Derek's head turned slowly. Mara held the folder against her chest, not like a shield this time, like custody. I am placing the signing packet under legal review until the consent issue is resolved. You do not have authority to delay this deal alone. I have authority to refuse to release a file I can no longer certify. The lobby noise thinned as people sensed a different kind of event beginning. Derek lowered his voice. Mara, think carefully about your career. Mara looked at Rachel, then at Owen, then back at Derek. I am, she said. Owen reopened the elevator backup window. Tessa raised her phone again, not toward Rachel this time, toward Derek. The clock above reception changed to 11:12. 33 minutes remained, and Derek had stopped pretending the sale was clean. Mara did not announce the delay to the party. Not yet. She walked away from Derek with the blue folder in her hands and the expression of someone carrying a glass bowl full of fire. Derek followed her 3 steps, then stopped because Nicole Hart was watching. That was the only reason he did not grab the folder. Rachel saw it. So did Tessa. Tessa had lowered her phone, but her thumb was still pressed against the side button. The camera was off now. The recording had saved. She looked at Derek, then at Rachel, then at the lobby screen where Clearvault's polished origin story looped without interruption. Rachel recognized the look. It was not courage. It was the sick little moment before courage, when a person realized silence would cost them something too. Owen pulled the elevator back up into a separate window. I can export a still frame, he said. Not the whole clip. Security watermark will show timestamp and camera source. Do it, Mara said. Owen looked at her. That is company property. So is the signing packet, Mara replied. And right now, I am preserving both. He exported the frame. Derek's sleeve. Derek's watch. Derek's hand on the copy room door at 9:40 p.m. Not enough alone to end him. Enough to make him answer. Mara set the blue folder on the security desk and opened it with a steadiness Rachel knew cost effort. We need 3 things. Signature mismatch. Archive access anomaly. Prior knowledge of the vulnerability. Rachel held up her cracked phone. I have the consent copy and the old signature source. Mara's eyes flicked to the spiderweb crack across the screen. Send them to me. Rachel did not move. Trust did not return just because danger changed direction. Mara understood. Then show me while I write the legal hold. Rachel placed the phone on the desk but kept 2 fingers on its edge. Mara began typing on her tablet. Owen leaned closer to the monitor. There's another problem. Rachel turned. Derek just requested building security override. What does that mean? Tessa asked. Everyone looked at her. She stood a few feet away, phone clutched against her chest, no longer pretending to fix the lobby display. Owen said, it means he can restrict temporary badges. Rachel looked down at the gray badge hanging from her neck. Temp night cleaning. Derek did not need to win the argument yet. He only needed to remove the person forcing it to exist. Mara typed faster. How long before it takes effect? If security leadership approves, immediately. Can you block it? Owen's mouth tightened. No, but I can see the request. Rachel looked at Tessa. Why are you here? Tessa swallowed. Because I recorded him. Humiliating me? Yes. Her face colored. At first I thought it was just content. Then he said the thing about discipline over emotion, and I remembered something. She opened her phone and searched through a folder of brand assets. When I joined, Derek gave marketing an old archive of founder language. He said he wrote most of it before the company had a real team. She turned the screen toward Rachel. A memo opened. Protect the overlooked first. Larger clients already have options. Rachel did not touch the phone. The sentence sat there with her initials at the top of the file. RQ, Client Trust Memo, Draft. Tessa's voice lowered. Your name was removed from the version we used for the sale deck. Mara stopped typing. Rachel looked at the young woman who had laughed softly in the lobby because the room had taught her to. Why tell me now? Tessa's eyes moved toward Derek. He was across the room, speaking into his phone with his back turned, one hand cutting the air in short, angry motions. Because he told me people like you get attached to work they don't know how to grow, Tessa said. And I believed him because believing him got me invited into rooms. That answer was not noble. That made it useful. Mara finished the legal hold notice and read under her breath as she checked each line. Potential defect in founder transfer consent. Potential unauthorized archive access. Potential undisclosed security vulnerability relevant to transaction. Nicole approached before Mara could send it. What exactly is being delayed? Nicole asked. Mara looked at Derek, still on the phone, then at Rachel. The signing packet, she said. And potentially the transaction. Nicole's face cooled. Potentially is an expensive word. So is fraud, Rachel said. Nicole looked at her as if the uniform had stopped explaining her. Derek returned then. His smile was gone now, replaced by something tighter and more dangerous. Rachel's badge is being deactivated, he said. Security will escort her out. Anyone who shares privileged materials with her will be named in the report. Owen's monitor flashed. Temp badge revocation approved. The lobby doors behind Rachel clicked. A small sound. A final little insult dressed as policy. Rachel removed the gray badge from her neck and placed it on the security desk. Derek's eyes brightened, thinking he had won a visible surrender. Mara hit send. The legal hold notice went out to the board, the buyer, and the internal transaction list at 11:29 p.m. Tessa forwarded the original memo to Mara. Owen saved the elevator still with the timestamp. Rachel stood without the badge. All night, the building had at least given her a label. Now it recognized her as nothing at all. But the evidence did. Derek did not wait for the board to call him. He walked to the center of the lobby, beneath the screen that still told Clearvault's story without Rachel, and clapped once. The sound cut through the party because everyone had been waiting for someone else to explain why the celebration no longer felt like one. Everyone, Derek said, his voice polished back into place. We have had a minor disruption. Rachel stood near the security desk without a badge, without a role the building recognized, with her cracked phone in one hand. Derek pointed at that absence as if it proved his case. Rachel Quinn entered this office tonight under false pretenses, he said. She accepted a cleaning assignment to gain access to restricted legal documents. She has a history with this company, and unfortunately, not a stable one. Mara took one step forward. Derek. He ignored her. She was part of a prior incident that damaged client trust, Derek continued. Now, on the night we secure Clearvault's future, she is attempting to reopen old wounds and interfere with a transaction approved by proper process. The room knew what to do with that kind of sentence. People did not have to understand it to be warned by it. Nicole Hart looked at Rachel. Did you photograph deal documents? Yes, Rachel said. A few employees shifted. Derek lifted his hand, almost gently. There it is. Rachel did not look away from Nicole. Because one of them carried my signature, and I did not sign it. Derek turned to the room with a sad smile. Rachel has always confused regret with evidence. That was wave one. The public lie. Clean, rehearsed, believable enough for people who wanted the night to continue. Then Mara opened the blue folder. No, she said. The evidence is why I placed the signing packet under legal hold. Derek's face tightened. You overstepped. I preserved the file. Mara pulled out the consent page and set it on the security desk. The founder transfer consent is certified by Derek personally. It is not notarized, not witnessed, and not independently verified. That structure was approved, Derek said. For routine consent, Mara replied. Not for a former founder whose signature appears to have been copied from an archive document. Nicole stepped closer. Mara placed Rachel's cleaning agency signature beside the transfer page. Current signature. Tonight. Post-injury. Smaller letters, altered final stroke. Then she placed the old restructuring form next to it. Archive signature. 2 years ago. It matches the transfer consent almost exactly. Nicole looked at Derek. You certified this? Derek's jaw worked once. I certified a completed file. Owen turned the security monitor toward the group. At 9:38, the conference room archive was accessed. 7 minutes of footage were deleted. The access log shows Mara's credentials, But the terminal was legal 3 inches the copy room. Mara added, "Not my workstation." Owen clicked again. A still image filled the screen. Grainy, partial, enough. A dark jacket, white cuff, silver watch at the copy room door at 9:40. Derek's watch. Eyes moved from the screen to Derek's wrist. He pulled his hand down by instinct, and that instinct did more damage than denial. Nicole's voice was flat. "Why were you in the copy room during the deleted window?" Derek laughed once. "This is absurd. A sleeve? A watch? Rachel has turned all of you into conspiracy witnesses." Mara did not raise her voice. "There is also the breach record." Derek looked at her then, truly looked, and Rachel saw the first break in his control. Mara opened the archived email on Owen's monitor. "Rachel warned you at 7:04 p.m. not to run the investor demo because the temporary access layer could expose test records." Derek said nothing. Mara read the reply aloud. "We move tonight. Risk acceptable." No one helped him. "That leak ended my career here," Rachel said. "You let them believe I caused it because I touched the system trying to fix what you chose to risk." Derek's voice dropped. "You are not innocent because you were scared." Rachel felt the old wound reach for her. This time, she did not hand it the room. "I was scared," she said. "I was also right." That was wave 2. The factual trap. Derek tried to step out of it by turning toward Nicole. Every founder makes risk calls. The buyer understands that. What matters is whether Clearvault can scale. Tessa Grant moved before Rachel expected her to. She walked to the lobby screen with her phone connected to the display dock. Her hands trembled, but she kept going. "Tessa," Derek said sharply. She did not stop. The screen changed from the founder timeline to a draft memo. RQ, Client Trust Memo, Draft. The first line appeared large enough for everyone to read. "Protect the overlooked first. Larger clients already have options." Tessa faced the room. Derek gave marketing this language and said he wrote it before Clearvault had a real team. "I used it in the sale deck. I removed the initials because I thought they were old formatting." Her face tightened. "They were Rachel's." Derek's anger flashed. "You are a junior marketing associate. You do not understand transaction context." "No," Tessa said. "I understand when someone teaches a room to laugh at the person whose words they are selling." Owen stood next. "Not dramatically, just enough. When the company cut costs last year, night security was on the list," he said. "I kept my job because someone argued the legal hallway camera mattered. I found out tonight that was Rachel. The same camera Derek tried to erase helped show what happened." Derek looked around for someone still willing to stand near him. There were employees who owed him promotions. Investors who wanted the deal. People who had laughed because it was easier than asking why. But nobody moved quickly enough. Rachel stepped forward then. Not to Derek. To Nicole. "If your board buys Clearvault tonight," she said, "you are not buying a clean security engine. You are buying a consent defect, a concealed breach history, and a CEO willing to certify what he cannot prove. I am not asking you to believe my pain. I am asking you to read your risk." Nicole held her gaze. Then she turned to Mara. "The buyer will not proceed tonight." Derek's head snapped toward her. "Nicole." "Pending independent review," Nicole said. "This delay could kill the deal." Nicole closed the black folder herself. "Then perhaps the deal was not alive in the way you represented." The clock above reception changed. 11:35 p.m. The deadline arrived with no signature sent. Derek stared at the screen, at the folder, at the people who had stopped helping him hold the story together. Rachel looked down at the gray badge on the security desk. Temp night cleaning. Derek had used it to tell everyone where she belonged. Now it sat beside the forged consent page, the time-stamped still, the old memo, and the email he thought no one would recover. Not proof that she had fallen. Proof that she had been underestimated long enough to see everything. The deal did not die loudly. It stopped with a closed laptop, a paused signature page, and Nicole Hart saying, "No further action tonight." That was enough. Derek tried to keep speaking, but the room had changed in a way no speech could repair. Not dramatically. Not all at once. People simply stopped arranging their faces around his confidence. Nicole asked Mara for a secured evidence copy. Mara said yes. Owen preserved the elevator still, the deleted archive log, and the security desk recording from the moment Derek threatened Rachel's badge. His hands shook when he typed the incident note, but he typed it anyway. Tessa sent the original memo to Mara, then placed her phone face down on the desk as if she were tired of holding a version of the night that could still be edited. Rachel did not celebrate. There was nothing clean about watching a lie collapse when part of you had helped keep it standing. 6 months earlier, she had stayed silent because she thought silence would save Clearvault. She had told herself clients mattered more than her name. The product mattered more than pride. The company mattered more than the way people looked at her when she walked out. Tonight had taught her the cost of that bargain. A story protected by silence did not become safer. It became easier to steal. Derek stood near the lobby screen, no longer under it, with one hand around his phone. Security leadership had stopped answering his calls. The board had moved to emergency session. The buyer had withdrawn pending independent review. When he looked at Rachel, there was no apology in him. Only disbelief that the room had chosen the documents over his version of events. "You think this gives you the company back?" he asked. Rachel looked at the screen where the old founder timeline still began with his face. "No," she said, "it gives the truth somewhere to stand." Mara heard that. 2 days later, the legal hold became a formal investigation. 2 weeks later, Derek was placed on leave. 3 months later, Clearvault's independent report corrected the founding record, the breach history, and the ownership of the security architecture. It did not fix everything. Reports never did. Rachel still had mornings when opening her email felt like stepping into an old courtroom. But the clients stayed protected. The small clinics were not forced into the 30-day migration. Owen kept his job. Tessa rewrote the sale deck into an internal ethics brief and asked Rachel before using a single sentence. Mara sent Rachel one email with no apology hidden behind legal language. "I should have looked sooner." Rachel answered with one line. "So should I." The next time Rachel entered Clearvault, she did not wear gray. She wore a black coat, flat shoes, and the careful expression of someone returning to a place that had hurt her without letting it own the shape of her face. Owen was at the security desk. On the counter between them sat a small evidence bag. Inside it was the temporary badge. Temp Night Cleaning. Rachel looked at it for a moment. 6 months ago, her old badge had gone into a plastic box as if her name were something the company could collect and store. That night, Derek had taken away the gray badge, thinking he had removed her from the building. Now both badges felt too small for what had happened. Owen cleared his throat. "System's been updated." Rachel turned toward the glass lobby doors. The scanner blinked. For a second, nothing happened. Then the screen beside the entrance lit up. Rachel Quinn, founding security architect. The doors opened. Owen stood a little straighter behind the desk. "Good night, Miss Quinn," he said. Rachel stepped through without touching a badge. And this time, the building knew exactly who she was.